a close game on the scoreline, but a comfortable win really for Arsenal. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I thought a pretty comfortable from Arsenal, to be honest. I think obviously the last 20 minutes stand out in your mind the most because it's the most prevalent in your mind, and we were a little bit nervous. But realistically, like Leicester carried no threat whatsoever, and we came up against another deep block. We should have had at least first half, in my opinion. Like if it wasn't the goal that was disallowed or the penalty that they didn't call, we should have had a goal. Had we gotten that goal, all of the pressure would have been lifted and we probably would have just went on. And then we got the goal like right after halftime, and we controlled a lot of the possession. There were a lot of good individual performances, but this was reminiscent of the away performances that happened pre the World Cup from Arsenal, where no, it wasn't spectacular. We didn't blow them away 3-4-0, but clean sheet, control the match, limit them to nothing, take the 3 points. And that's exactly what I was looking for. More than anything, I wanted that clean sheet more than a 4-2, 5-2, whatever. I just wanted that clean sheet. And Saliba and Gabriel, for me, were monsters back there. I know that there are some reports that they had like a little scuffle or something like that after the match, but that's probably just them talking it out. But that was a excellent away performance from the two of them. I'm loving this Jorginho life. I mean, it's nice, it's cushy, it's fun. I like it. Some of the passes that he was doing, especially in the first half, were just like, mwah, beautiful. And after Martinelli scored that goal, you saw the pressure lift off of his shoulders. And we started to see the Martinelli from before the World Cup again. And so maybe it just took that goal to take that pressure off for him. And yeah, like back to back away wins where, and we are the best away team. Like this team performed so well away from home, and I'm just happy to see us get back on track. For me, this was more of an Arsenal performance than the Aston Villa one because we were good defensively as well. So well done to the boys, and we move on to Wednesday against Everton.
Absolutely. And again, how important is that? Because I know Gary Neville's not every Arsenal fan's biggest fan, they don't like him at the moment. But he said one thing in his kind of podcast last week that if Arsenal want to win this league, they've got to get back to keeping clean sheets and getting back to being good defensively. How important was that performance from a defensive standpoint for the rest of your title running?
Huge. Going away from home, absolutely leaving them with no corners, no shots on target, one shot the whole entire game. That is impressive. Even though they've been poor this season, you would think a team at home would be able to at least register a shot on target or more than one shot. They were basically lifeless majority of the game. The only thing that we were worried about was we weren't finishing them off. We needed to finish them off. And you know what? Just getting back to what you said, Terry, I honestly don't care what Gary Neville thinks anymore. He's just doing it for reactions, and I'm gonna give him his reactions at times because he's gonna get me rattled. But it is what it is. Let's move on to that.
I understand it. I'm just pointing that Gary Neville. No, I get that. I just with Gary Neville, I think that's the one thing he said that holds true because you've got to stop conceding so that you give yourself a better chance. And I get what you're saying about him in terms of the response since that loss. You know, you beat Villa. You win again today. Do you think that's dampened all the doubt now surrounding Arsenal's ability to bounce back from adversity?
No, I don't think it has to
I
because
was
no matter
literally
how
going to
we
get
are,
into the rest of the game before you jumped in. But I'll answer that first. The doubt. Automatically, we bounce back. This was a crucial win, Terry. The reason being, we had this doubt of going into the Aston Villa game. They thought that game was luck. We showed today that we can go away from home and we can put in a dominating performance defensively. It wasn't that best attacking wise, but you know what? We could have had 3 goals realistically if the refereeing went our way. I personally thought, but Bukayo Saka's goal, obviously it's offside. The one with Trossard, I think that's a subjective decision. I don't think that's a clear situation where a referee should overturn it. I don't think it was a clear and obvious error. And at the end of the day, if it went our way, they wouldn't have overturned it the other way. That's what I'm saying. But when it comes down to the actual game, clear refereeing decisions. I don't like Craig Paulson, but guess what? Even though first half was poor, I think it should have gone better our way. We should have gotten more out of it. We should have done more. We didn't do enough in the first half. Second half, we still were not showing that we're clinical enough. We scored the one chance that we got with Martinelli. We need to get more goals out of this team. I think Gabriel Jesus coming back will be a big part for that. But the big thing for me is, as you said, Jorginho, he's putting in masterclass performances. He's doing so well. The defense back there, they're doing great. And with Thomas Partey coming in and coming back to this team, honestly, we could see some games where Jorginho gets rested. We could see some games where Xhaka gets rested. We could see some games where Partey gets rested. That three could be rotated quite a bit. And maybe going into the next game, I want to see Fabio Vieira get some run, maybe. Give him an opportunity, because today the composure in the final third wasn't there for Xhaka or Odegaard. Maybe since we're at home against Everton the next game, maybe give Fabio Vieira that run. But Terry, to answer your question one more time, 100%, and I think we showed it. 2 games on the bounce away from home, winning it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you did. And look, on the goals, as you're right, they're subjective. Some will say it was a foul, some will say it's not. Some will say Saka's was a penalty, some will say it's not. It really depends on your disposition. Bruno Fernandes probably thinks they weren't fouls because of what happened to him the other day. Like, this is the kind of way around it goes. But I think the important thing for Gunas today is that he's maintaining the momentum. So you beat Villa. Some will say, oh, it was last gasp. It wasn't convincing. Well, winning today was key, because whatever happens now with Man City, you've got that game in hand to go 5 points clear, which basically means going into the last, 13 games, City have to win 2 more matches than you. And when you look at the run rate this season for the two of you, based on this season's form, that won't happen, because they lose and draw more games than you. So it basically means they've got to change their form completely for the whole season in these last few games if you beat Everton. And who knows what happens against Bournemouth when that kicks off in 6 minutes' time. It could be crazy. Gunnar King's with us here. Long time no speak, my friend. Obviously, you're someone who's been behind this Arsenal team for a long time. You've never really yielded any sort of thought that this team could become title winners. Do you look at performances like today and think this is how titles are won?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people get caught up in a lot of things, like we got told we can't win the league because we can't beat City. City didn't beat Liverpool twice last season. They also didn't beat them in the FA Cup, and they still were champions. And it's because of what you spoke about, the run rate. The run rate of games that they had, Liverpool conceded too many draws. And that's how they kind of dropped points in the race against City. And that almost wasn't really factoring in how City were playing. Like, to bring that into the context of this season, I think a lot was said about us losing to City. Some of our own fans calling these players pussies, for example. Well, these pussies responded in the next 2 matches by not yielding, by not dropping their heads, by not giving up. Twice when they were down at Aston Villa, away from home, a very difficult place to play. Coming back, getting back on the score sheet, winning that game, albeit in the last minute, and then showing today that if we're not going to perform to our best, we're not going to lose, and we are going to hold on to leads, and we are going to basically, by hook or by crook, we are getting those 3 points. We are taking them back to the carpet. Some pussies, hey? Some pussies, yeah? And that's the thing, like, this is what champions, like, this is what they have to do sometimes, like, they have to dig deep. They're not going to play 38 games and play scintillating football game after game after game. There are going to be some games where you put your back against the wall, where you have to dig deep, where you have to find some resolve, and where you have to, sort of face the music, face the uphill struggle for a bit. And today they showed that they can do that. And I think there'll be tougher tests, of course, throughout this season. But I think today, and in the last couple of games, they've shown that they're anything but pussies. That they can respond to adversity, in games. And I think that resolve amongst this young group of players, what really impresses me is that game on game, you see that growing. And I think that today was another great example of that.
Look, it certainly was. And listen, to Arsenal, some Arsenal fans were angry after that game, as we know. Some doubted it. Some wrote the season off. Rivals. I mean, I got probably as much stick as any Arsenal fan online with Terry. You were wrong. You said Arsenal could win the league. Look at them now. And I just remember sitting back thinking, yeah, it's a bad night for Arsenal, but the same people stating that you can't win the trophy, they can't win the Prem in February, were acting like Arsenal we're not going to win it by May, just because they've been slightly overtaken on goal difference by City. And the biggest element was going to be the response to that loss. It's the response to it. And Arsenal have been magnificent in doing that. And if you go back for all the videos I've spoken about this year about their Arsenal's improvements, their quality, a lot of it has been positional and the press and getting back into shape. But it's been the mentality that I've been talking about so often. And today was a mentality performance, because every time Leicester countered, it takes a strong will and a brilliant mind to keep tracking back and getting back in position, to keep doing it again and again, and not just having one moment we go, oh, I'm not going to track back this one time because we'll probably be okay. That's when you drop points. That's when you concede. And listen,
Terry,
City are definitely fearful. There's no doubt. Go on, young Samuel.
I just want to say, like, you mentioned the progress. I mean, today with that win, we surpassed our entire points tally from Arteta's first season. So it shows how far we've come in the last 2 years. With 15 games to go, we surpassed that points tally. You know, you have to give credit to the defense. Obviously, like as Gary Neville mentioned, I agreed with him on that point that we've got to start keeping clean sheets when you're in the running. And today, I looked at it; it was a title winner's performance. You know, we controlled the game, and then for periods of the match, we had our backs against the wall. We won the game in every aspect. Attacking, defending, in the trenches. And if you look at the past title winners like Man City, Liverpool, when they were winning Premier Leagues, they had this type of games where they weren't going to be at their best every single game. They weren't going to control every game, and sometimes they will have their backs against the wall, and still they'll just find a way to get 3 points. And this is what you got to do now from this point on. Just no matter what you do, no matter how you play, you just got to get the 3 points to come out of it unscathed. Obviously, I've seen some people criticize the defense the past few games, but the defense, I think everyone in defense was sensational today. Zinchenko, Gabriel. I think we have to start looking, Terry, at Gabriel being in the PFA Team of the Year. It's a serious shout. Because him and Martinez, they've been absolutely sensational, but there has to be a long discussion, probably like a 2-hour-long podcast about who should go in the team.
Yeah.